So it's important to realize that this approach needs to be done individually by each student in their family. You could have one student who's a gifted athlete, you could have another student who's a musician, another student who is just an average student, and they're still going to be successful. So I like to just encourage families, when you're thinking about money, get rid of the misconception that you make too much money and that you're not going to get any money. That's the number one misconception out there. And it's really sad because people throw up their hands and they're super frustrated, but yet they're not doing what they need to be doing to set their family up for success.
Welcome to the Four Peaks Parents Podcast with your host, Thomas Miller. So excited to have with me today, Shellee Howard. We're going to dive into all things college readiness, right? And how to basically not lose your mind, which I've seen so many teens and families get torn asunder by this process. And Shellee's going to give us amazing tips, tools, and strategies to actually make this thing be slightly less financially painful. I don't even know how that's possible, but you do. So excited to have Shellee with us today. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Thomas.
Yes. Oh, and I think I missed one thing in the intro: bestselling author, right? And as well as oh my God, a bazillion other things. So please fill in any blank I missed there on the intro. Anything that you want to shout out?
I think for the listeners, it'd probably be important they realize that I have 2 sons and 2 daughters. So I've actually walked in your shoes 4 times, and all 4 of them have gotten into their dream school and graduated debt-free. Cool. Yeah. So I think that's kind of a big deal for parents who are listening.
That is a big deal. And I'm the son of a former financial aid counselor. So I know what FAFSA stands for, or at least I used to. I don't know if I still do, but that's amazing. That's amazing value add that not only are you a professional and going to help, obviously, our audience over this episode get some hacks, tools, tips, strategies, etc. You also have been there, done that, which is awesome. Yeah. So very important question. We just started intimating. Today it's Wednesday, July 15th, and it is the semifinal. It is Argentina versus England. Do you have a horse in this race?
I have 2.
Yeah.
I really am struggling. I love both teams. We're a big soccer family. And my husband asked me, so are you taking off work to watch the game? And I'm like, I don't think that's going to be possible, but I will pop in and out in between. So I've been to Argentina actually at a soccer game, and their crowds are over the top.
Did you go to the Bombero? Is that how you say it? Bombero? Did you go to, who did you see?
I just remember buying my husband a blue and white jersey, and
okay.
I don't remember where it was. I was with teenagers. Yeah. So we were over there doing a service project where we were volunteering in an orphanage. And as part of my give back, I said to the students, do you want to go see, a big soccer game? And so it was incredible. So I'm leaning that way because I have the jersey. But I will say, England, I've been there and stayed there for some time too. So I think it's going to be a really good game.
It is going to be a really good game. That's awesome. The stadium I'm possibly butchering is Boca Juniors Stadium, which is supposed to be the most craziest fans on the face of the earth, which I'm dying to go to as well. And I love Harry Kane, who I hope wins the Ballon d'Or because he's had such an amazing year. And I kind of feel like he got knocked out of the Champions League with Bayern Munich. And then if they get knocked out today, I don't know. So I'm torn too, because I love Messi. He is the GOAT to me as well.
That's what he came down to. Yeah. He's just he's a great role model.
Yeah, he is. So enough of soccer, because you can get me going for next 10 years. Walk us through first off, compelled you to get into this, because I know I have a 16-and-a-half-year-old, so I will definitely be pinging you after this and picking your brain, because I'm already having tons of anticipatory anxiety about how the hell do we pull this off? We have a 16-and-a-half-year-old and a 13-year-old, and feeling completely not totally unprepared, but definitely no matter how much you prepare, it feels like it's just this impossible Herculean, I don't know, Mount Everest thing to climb. So what was your origin story? What got you into this? And like you said, you are a parent.
Yeah. So it was my firstborn. So my firstborn came home from school about spring 8th grade year. And he says, Mom, I know exactly what I want to do after high school. And I'm like, what happened at school today? He said,
Mm-hmm.
well, that lady came from the high school and she said we need to pick our classes for next year and that I needed to know what I want to do. And so I want to be a brain surgeon. I want to go to one of those Ivy things.
Wow.
And will you help me? And I was like, what? Whoa.
Yeah.
You know, I changed my major 5 times. You know, I didn't do it
Right.
right. But
Right.
you want me to help you. And he goes, yeah,
Right.
you've helped me with the rest of the stuff. You can help me
Right.
with this.
Right.
So long story short, I did go back to university. I did become an independent college consultant and a
Awesome.
financial strategist. And so this is my 18th year going on my 19th application season. Our
Wow.
students have earned over $80 million in scholarships. And so we're very focused on, yes, getting into the dream school and yes, getting out without debt. So we're double yes.
I love that. I love that. I mean, I'm like, oh, right. Like my shoulders have dropped. I love the story. First off, I love your son's energy, and he definitely does not have a scarcity mindset. I mean, he's like, anesthesiologist, brain surgeon, astronaut, and I'm going to college in an Ivy thing. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was super innocent. It was so fun.
Yeah. Well, again, like I can only extrapolate, right? Because I'm not in your shoes, but I imagine that you are obviously drawing upon everything you just said, which is an amazing background, but you're also being a consultant, like you said, you're being a financial strategist, you're being an accountant, you're also being a bit of a life coach, right? I'm sure you're doing tons of hand holding and tons of deep breaths and helping families. What do you see as some of the major kind of mistakes or pitfalls that families fall into or make in this process?
Well, there's a lot of them, but I'll start with the big ones first. The biggest one is leaving this up to your teenager. Because I want to caution you before you think that's a great idea for them to start adulting. It's like having them buy a home for you without you being involved. That's the how it sums out, right? College is going to cost somewhere around $400,000 a year by the time your child graduates. And so it, in some places, would be somebody's home. And so that's the number one thing is. Number two, the high school counselor does not get paid a bonus if they help your child get into college. They get to keep their paycheck if your child graduates. Very big difference.
Oh, speaking my language, especially and big. I know you got tons of love for guidance counselors, as do I. Big shout out to guidance counselors, but I have a similar, let's say, recalibration often for guidance counselors on the mental health side too, because that happens. There's a lot of guidance counselors who unfortunately try to play mental health specialists sometimes. I love guidance counselors. The work they do is phenomenal and just so important to get kids through. But continue, please. Yeah.
So that was part of my next point is if your child is doing A, B's, and C's, you may never see them at all because they're dealing with mental illness, stress, overwhelm, kids who are not showing up to high school. They have some really heavy things that they're dealing with. And so if your child's doing okay, you won't see them until they don't do okay. And so now you're leaving it all up to your child who, if you ask them how they'd spend $1 million, you're going to be shocked because there's no concept of what that $1 million can buy.
Absolutely.
And so I adore high school counselors, but the reality is they have hundreds of students to one of them. And so what we want families to realize is they either need you or they need somebody. If it's not you, if you're not a crazy parent like me and you don't want to go back to school and you don't want to figure this out on your own and you don't want to risk screwing it up, that was a big one for me, then you need support. And then on the financial side, if you don't have a financial advisor, even if you do, I guess, you want to be mindful of how are you going to get into college and out without debt. There's 4 buckets of money, and I'm happy to go into them because I want families to know that there's a lot of opportunity, but if you don't look for the opportunity, it's not going to land on your teenager's lap, and they're not going to go chasing more work.
That's awesome. I mean, really good starting point for this conversation. I mean, what I hear, the big takeaway is, as much as on this show, I talk a lot about failing forward, setting kids up for success, moving the dependent to independent young adult, starting that early, right? Allowing your child to separate and individuate. And biggest fan of, I see a lot of bubble wrapping, unfortunately, a lot of families flying way too low and creating compression upon their child's resiliency at very young ages. This is not one of those moments to assume, especially, which is such a good point too, because so many of the families that I coach and work with every single day, vis-a-vis the Four Peaks Parents Program, or families listening, more often than not have a child with ADHD and some level of executive functioning issues. So getting all the T's crossed and I's dotted for something that you said is akin to a $400,000 proposition is not probably the best advice. So that's like a great starting point, And then the piece about guidance counselors, like, again, just to clarify my statement, they are dealing with mental health. I'm just saying that more often than not, I see sometimes families taking clinical advice from someone that doesn't have a clinical background. And what they do, like you said, is every day putting out fires and keeping students in the building. And they do an amazing job of helping them obviously progress and potentially graduate, like you said. But your entire identity, what I'm hearing, goal, mission, objective, is not only to help this young adult get into the preferred college, but most importantly, to really understand the financial impact. And because that's such a value add too. I mean, huge. Yeah.
Well, it's important if we expect them to adult, if we don't prepare them for adulting, which is making this decision, then they're going to go to college because of the location or the football team. And they're going to graduate with the wrong major and then be frustrated they didn't get into the career that they wanted. And now they're just circling because they have debt, they're overwhelmed, they don't have a job, and now they're feeling really bad. So if we do this properly, it can be empowering. It can be so important to have the impact. And it is possible. I have 52 high school students that meet every Sunday for an hour. And we've built 2 schools in Uganda, an orphanage in Oaxaca, Mexico, and a school in India.
That's awesome.
These teenagers are amazing if given the opportunity.
You're awesome. You're inspiring me. Side note, we were just talking, my wife and I, about a service project, because way back in the day, we did a bunch of service projects, her and I, without the kids, and we haven't had our boys join us yet. We did a whole bunch of things pre-kids. So that's such a beautiful thing. And I agree with you. I mean, as someone who's worked with youth since 1999, I've always believed in what right kids can do. And they are obviously the future leaders in the next generation. And I think the piece you just said too is so important, because I do see a lot of projected helplessness from the families onto the child, and the child by proxy, or the child onto the family. And then you have a lot of just chaos and emotional dysregulation driving the bus. And then again, not that we want to say college is absolutely definitively the right decision for all students. It's not, nor are we going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think, though, there should be a healthy respect, which it sounds like you have, for the opponent of the debt, of the decision. Because with AI and with the realities of an ever-changing market, there are tons of young adults that didn't have someone like you, didn't have someone to accompany them, didn't understand the ROI of this decision. And we know there are majors right now that we can talk about this till the cows come home, but just from a pure financial decision, for the first time ever, now have a negative ROI associated with them, right? In terms of from a financial standpoint, one can argue the value of college and so yeah, getting this right, whether you have a money tree or not, I think it's so important for that young adult. And one of the things I see again and again and again, particularly with young males, is the failing to launch, right? We have this this block of 18 to 30-year-olds, men and women, with or without neurodivergence, especially though with neurodivergence and executive functioning, that are really struggling to break in, right? And so again, what a moment, what a missed moment, or what an amazing captured moment. So yeah, speak more. You said that there's ways to get money. There was 4 ways. Speak more about that so that folks can begin to start thinking about it.
Absolutely. So it's important to realize that this approach needs to be done individually by each student in their family. You could have one student who's a gifted athlete, you could have another student who's a musician, another student who is just an average student, and they're still going to be successful. So I like to just encourage families, when you're thinking about money, get rid of the misconception that you make too much money and that you're not going to get any money. That's the number one misconception out there. And it's really sad because people throw up their hands and they're super frustrated, but yet they're not doing what they need to be doing to set their family up for success. So that's the first thing to get rid of. The second thing is, your child doesn't have to be the most amazing student in the entire world to get money. I have 4 kids, and some of them are incredibly gifted and some of them are incredibly challenged. We cover the whole spectrum. And why I think that's important is I don't want anybody to make an excuse for any type of child. I have students I work with that are on the spectrum, that have ADD, ADHD, I mean, the full gamut. They're getting big scholarships. So
That's
I just
awesome.
want to encourage you, don't sit in the, well, that's not going to work for us, because it does. Last year, college ready students earned $11.8 million in scholarships they will never have to pay back.
That's amazing.
One student with a 3.23 GPA earned over $400,000 in scholarships because she went after it. She thought she was going to community college. So I want to encourage you. The 4 buckets come in. Bucket 1 is need-based. If you make under $200,000 as a home, you are considered a need-based family. If you can get into an Ivy, they pay 100%. There you have it. So there's 2 ways of looking at it. If need-based is not for you, you have 3 more buckets. There is the institutional bucket. That's picking the right college. Are they the most generous? Are they super stingy? We can tell you before you apply. The next bucket is going to be merit-based. Are they first chair, a drumline, or are they a student athlete? Are they ASB president? What is their secret sauce? What is that special thing? There's so much money for it. And then the final bucket is the independent bucket. And people get really frustrated here because there's just none that fit my student. Well, right now, there's a $10,000 scholarship if you're a vegan. So there is some random scholarships out there.
I mean, sorry, no hate on the vegans, but to me, that's a painful
I could
10K.
do it. I could do it.
I was a vegetarian for a number of years. Yeah, no shame or hate on the vegans, but I'll pay the 10K to not be a vegan. No, but that's amazing. That's an amazing factoid, right? Who would have known? Hence the reason you're on the podcast, right? I always identify subject matter experts for my families because I always want to open my network to my families that I work with and/or folks listening. So that's huge. Yep. I keep going. I'm sure there's more than the vegan one. Yep.
Yes. So there's one, if you have one brown eye and one green eye, there's another, I think it's 15,000.
Okay.
Son personally won the Coca-Cola scholarship his junior year.
Okay.
If you would have been waiting until the senior year, that's $25,000 a year. Wow. So that's $100,000. And it was just because he was a leader. So he didn't do anything different. He didn't have to be this person he's not. He just did what he did. And we went after it. So I just encourage you, families, there are 10 colleges that are tuition free. And so if your student is maybe not the kind that just is really excited to go into debt, go tuition free. They're in my first book. So it's important to realize it's just like you could do your own taxes or you pay a CPA. You could sell your own home or you hire a realtor. Like there's just a lot of
you could I mean, I'll use myself, shameless plug, but you could continue to exist in the chaos and dysfunctionality and allow that system to continue to replicate itself further, right? Creating mental health, addiction, or just a lack of life skills, coping skills, or you could hire a coach that works with thousands of families across his career who can help you in 90 days immediately step out of that chaos dysfunction and create a whole new system that will create a healthy ROI for your entire future family, grandchildren, et cetera. I'm with you 100%. And I mean, already, I'm just going to be honest, already, I'm definitely going to call you after this. You already have a future client because I'm feeling empowered. I'm feeling that let's lean into the wind here, if you will, right? Let's face this. It's like a bison, which is my power animal, which is right here, by the way, my little stress ball from Choice House. Shout out to Choice House in Colorado. And they run into the storm. So I live my life that way. So why would I have not thought this? And so I'll kind of hit myself with the shame stick twice, maybe, because I have a huge abundant mindset, always looking at everything as an opportunity rather than a deficit. But I did fall into, I'm being honest, some assumptive things already that are probably traditional, traps in terms of thinking. I'm a big fan of getting parents out of archaic thinking and creating new cognitive plasticity for them and their loved ones. So why wouldn't I have done the same here? So that's great. It already feels like a nice shift. It already feels like, yeah, we could do this. And there's an opportunity here versus arriving at a deficit or a defeatist attitude is certainly not going to help. And even if someone doesn't get all these things, I still believe that's a healthier, more resilient family, right? That's thriving and walking alongside their young adult and empowering and giving opportunities vis-a-vis your coaching, your model, your whatever. I mean, that already feels better. Even I'm sure you're would be able to cull something out of some crack for the families you work with. But the point is that already feels, I'd rather play offense than defense.
Absolutely. And so the other thing that parents aren't often thinking about is when they went to university, it was less expensive and less competitive.
Mm-hmm.
And those two things are huge, but also there was no social media. The distractions were a lot less, and students really were in a different place. When we when my generation went to college, we typed our application on a typewriter, used whiteout, put it in an envelope, put a stamp on it, and just hope it got there. These kids are sitting by the computer in total angst, waiting for something to pop up or something good to happen. And it is such a trap that they get into. Instead, what we do at College Ready is we are preparing our children to adult, and college is a stepping stone to get there. So we're not doing all of this for college. We're doing all of this to launch great adults.
I love that. Yeah.
That's what's so different. When people ask me, was it worth it for my son to go to Harvard? 110%, because that was a perfect fit for him. Well, while he was there, my daughter visited and she said, "Please don't make me go there, Mom. They're intense. Like, I don't want to work that hard."
No, absolutely. Yeah.
That is okay. And that's what we're trying to help families understand is finding that perfect academic, social, and financial fit is the healthiest place to launch your child.
100%. I was just at touring Black Mountain Academy in Asheville. Shout out to Black Mountain Academy. And it's a great program for neurodivergent boys. And they have a young adult program as well. So folks that are needing some support on the coping, life skills, et cetera. And I met one of the young man, and I'm going to blank on the college, and you might know, it's tiny. It's in Asheville. It's like 900 students, but it's a co-op driven university where everyone does a co-op. So, which is brilliant, right? For the experiential learner, for the tactile, the size is perfect, right? For not every, autistic young adult, but for this person, it was the perfect fit. They're going to continue to be able to, engage in hard skills, of course, soft skills too. But, there's a technical aspect, and technical schools are missing and so needed in our country right now on the high school level, never mind on the college level. But again, if anyone would know about some, cool, super unique college that, really fits this person, it's you. And that's why I love my podcast, because again, it expands my network and opens great professionals like yourself. It's the same thing with when I'm coaching a family and they're part of the Four Peaks Parents Program. It might be session 1 or session 7 where I'm like, this kid that's attending, say, a traditional high school or a traditional boarding school, this is not the right fit, because of either learning differences, because, of course, mental health, because of course, structure. They might need more of an experiential setting. They might need whatever. And I have consultants that I reach out to literally every single day that are part of a bench of top tier professionals that I refer my families to, because they literally tour programs. They can put eyes on, just like you have seen and could spout out a bazillion, scholarship opportunities. The same is true in terms of your knowledge of understanding the college system, and you're a tailor. And I think that's so important too. Even just talking to a young adult, like I'm totally going to rope in my son. I want to like grab him right now because he's arriving from a lot of myths and a lot of assumptions. And I've seen so many young adults, not to say again that college is for everyone. I don't have irreverence towards college, but I don't have reverence towards college as it's the only way. But why not have a guide that can really help you could play handball against, to explore whether or not this thing is the right opportunity before you punt it.
And that's an important part. Yeah, that's a very important part. I want to just add in there. We start with helping the child learn who they are, what matters to them, and what are they going to do about it. Because self-discovery in this generation is missing. It's not happening in the high school. It's just not happening. And they're looking at their cell phone every day thinking, I'm not that tall, I'm not that fast, I'm not that smart, I'm not that. And they're talking themselves into not being good enough. So I spend the first meeting telling them how amazing they are, and I don't make it up. I just am listening and feeding it back to them, because up until they figure out who they are, we don't know if they should go to college. They may be way better off doing a trade school, entrepreneurship, being an influencer. I mean, I've heard it all, right? And so I want parents to understand that we have to get to know them before we can even talk about is college good or not good. Many people just go, we're not going to college because I went into debt and it was bad for me. Well, they're not you, and that's not fair to them. And I, like you, I don't believe everybody should go to college. Both of my parents didn't go to college, so they're amazing. But what I can tell you is if they want to be an influencer, where's their business plan? Oh, they don't know how to do a business plan? Okay, well, now how are we going to get that done? If they're going to take a gap year, what are they going to do in that gap year? Just chill out on the couch, play a little game? Or is it going to be a productive gap year? Like, just having a no college mindset is also putting you in a really negative position versus being very positive and saying, this is who I am, this is what I want, and this is how we're going to go get it. That's how you know success is on the horizon.
That is, if ever there's a takeaway, it's that one for me. It's less about is college right or wrong. It's more about you have to understand the student. I was just talking to a family, and their young adult had been in multiple programs. And the sad thing is the people that they were like talking to, the quote unquote professionals, had never even met their son and was recommending these programs. And so again, the professionals, yourself included, but more on the therapeutic side, I work every day with interventionists, therapeutic consultants, academic college folks too. I always immediately set up a meeting where the professional is meeting this young adult, and they're doing exactly what you said, which is definitely starting with a strength-based approach, selling the dream, if you will, and gargling who they are to understand like what is the next right level of care. And then they of course talk to me. But the piece about understanding who they are and then trying to figure out not even just college right or wrong, but every little thing about the college. Because how often do you hear, like you said earlier, students are like, oh, it's there's some really hot girls at this school, I'm going to that school, or the weather's great, or they have a swimming pool, or it's in a city, or whatever that is, and not really understanding anything about the experience, the educational resources or lack thereof, this class size. I mean, all of these things are so part and parcel. And like you said earlier, which is so great, you're not just getting money for folks, which of course is amazing that you do that for college, but you're also not only figuring out who do they want to be, not that they're supposed to know the next 40 years, but you're trying to help them have a vision and reverse engineer down to today and why we're exploring it in this way. But you're helping them launch because they're going to own this. There's extreme ownership in the model that's been cooked and baked vis-a-vis them and you, versus it's just some, like you said, projection from mom or dad, right or wrong. You're going to college because this is what we all do. I had a mom the other day who was like so upset that her daughter's majoring in nursing. And I'm like, okay, because she's of course a doctor and she should be a doctor and right. And it was like amazing. It was amazing to hear like the shame of nursing versus like where my whole thing every day with my families is I always say F happy. Like I can't stand people when they say, I just want my kids to be happy. I always say you're happy in moments. Happy is a fleeting feeling. I always want my kids to take extreme ownership of whatever their journey is. But how can they take extreme ownership if they're not working with someone like you who understands their strengths, their weaknesses, their threats, and then looks at college, if it's even right, as an opportunity? Amazing.
I think that's the big piece for parents who are listening or grandparents who are active is when the student owns this, it's so easy. It's so fun.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's moving. There's going to be bumps, but they own it. When my son walked into Harvard eating hall and he goes, Mom, it's Hogwarts. Like, this is the coolest place ever.
Mm-hmm.
I knew he had eaten a carrot. Like all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden, it was
Mm-hmm.
his dream, not my dream. So when he had to work hard, it wasn't another person tells me I have to do this thing. It was, I have the opportunity to do this to get to where I want to go. And that's really what we're trying to instill in the families, because when they leave for college, if they don't have these skills and they fail, they're going to come right back home because they've never had to deal with this before.
Well, so that's another selling, not that you sound very good at sales. I'm actually very good at sales. And if you want to pull on even another emotional financial pain point, it's that one, because not only are you saving the money visa scholarships, you're saving the failing to launch proposition money. And again, not even because it's about the college, it's about the ownership. Like, I didn't realize that you're an amazing guest, but I didn't realize that I knew the topic was so amazing and in alignment, hence you're on the show. But this ownership thing is really, for me, like what it's about, because so many of the families I work with are either flying too low and casting a shadow and not able to see how sick, let's keep it real, right, and how challenged their child is, or you have a minimize maximize proposition is happening often, or you have families understandably are under a lot of pressure and they're in a cortisol bath and they're going through the fight or flight every day and they're doing their best, and then, like I intimated earlier, there are tons of crummy resources out there, and you have insurance companies and you have all these things and you have all these, it's impossible to hear your own voice. It's impossible, especially when you're stressed out, especially when your kid is running roughshod all over you. So where I come in, similar to what you do, is to slow things down, provide clarity, figure out, we know it's obviously not working, right? So the first peak of the 4 peaks is called the family audit. It's very similar to your approach. So it's all about what is the system creating these symptoms, right? What is really kind of keeping us off balance, and what is pulling the levers. Let's change that system, because the system's just going to keep recreating itself. The same family, I always say, that got us into this cannot be the same family that gets us out of it. The same people can, it just has to be a very different dynamic, patterns, et cetera. That's why I built this program, to help people be able to have a bridge out. It's the same thing for you, but for me, the ownership piece of slowing things down, sitting with the student, understanding again their superpower, understanding their deficits in really honest language, right? Like I hate people who use euphemistic language when it comes to whatever. It's like, no, they have schizophrenia. You know what I mean? Like, and that's a real deal. And they deserve to know that when they're actually functional and regulated and doing amazing with bipolar 1, which is different than bipolar 2, which is a milder bipolar, that's like them climbing Mount Everest times 10. So it's very important to look at, like, I'm sure you're doing this, really shaking the tree, not only for what are the scholarships out there, but you're first starting with a very relational connection that really looks again at who do we have here? And there are innate superpowers to everyone. And so many students too, I'm going to shut up in a second, have been beaten up, myself included. I didn't know I was neurodivergent. You know, I have ADHD. I didn't know I had that. That's self-diagnosed. Nobody guided me at all. I just got a soccer scholarship and really loved photography. So I majored in that, switched to social work midway through, had to give up my scholarship, which was painful because I was so knee deep into photography that I took 21 credits in the fall of my junior year. And then, 21. And then I took 18 every single semester, plus summer and winter classes to graduate. So, but again, I didn't have a coach. No one was like, hey, you're amazing. And then even when I worked at, I went and hired a business coach and he said, Thomas, you have an MBA from the streets. Like he gave me this jokingly, right? But had I known that in social work school, the craziest thing, it's not even me, but no one taught you as a social worker how to actually run a business and make money, you know?
Yes.
So anyway, I'm just so excited that you're out here. I mean, doing, yes, getting the money, but the thing about avoiding the failing to launch, because that young adult for the rest of their life is going to feel like they're a piece of crap and they suck. Meanwhile, they just didn't have someone to say, let's just kind of like look at this slightly differently, you know?
Yeah.
And let's approach every step of the way differently.
It's so powerful when a student owns the process and watching them go from deer in headlights to I don't know who I am to rising up and serving their community and stepping into a leadership role. That's going to serve them just as much as any education. And those soft skills are going to help them to be successful forever. And so I want families to realize, yes, I do the academic plan, the testing plan, the community service plan, and leadership and extracurricular and the essays. I do all of that, but it's not going to be successful if you don't start with the child. If you're just saying, I want my child to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer, and that's their three choices, if that child is not capable of doing that, it's going to be the biggest struggle that you have. Versus finding out who they are and their gifts and their talents and where they can really be great. And everybody's going to be so much happier. They're going to launch and they're never going to have regret or feel heavy. And so I've seen it, you know, I've watched it over 18 years, the families who lean into this and they're like, we see it, we believe it. And the families who are still continuing to say, you only can do this thing. And it's really hard with AI because nobody can predict what's going to happen. Now, I've been following it for 6 years deeply. And so it's not a new thing. I mean, it's older than that. Yeah. But what I will say is these families who thought that they were putting their child in a very secure job like computer science are now graduating and they have no job because there's no entry level. So let me save you a lot of headache. And I can tell you the top 100 careers that are the first to go. And then you can make a decision. Does that make sense?
Don't say social work or psychology.
You know, the element of seeing a person, hearing a person, touching a person, they're all very much going to be the last ones to go.
Oh, no, I agree. Gary Vee has a great quote. He said, you need to be at the edges of AI and the edges of human.
Yes.
Everyone in the middle is kind of screwed.
It's a tough place to be. And so we're telling students, learn to collaborate, learn to communicate. These skills will take you forever to be successful versus if you just keep your head down and do a one thing, because it may not be there. And so it's important to do the work ahead of time because the return on investment of that time and money is opportunity costs. And that's what we want families to really be communicating. And if it's hard for you to communicate with your child about that, that's exactly what we do. So when they say they want to be a botanist and go to NYU at $100,000 a year, and you're having a heart attack, I get to step in and say, well, tell me, why is botany on your list? I said, do you like to plant? And they're like, oh, no, I don't even like dirt. I said, then why do you want to be a botanist? Oh,
Mhm.
I want to save the environment.
Mm.
Oh, so what you're really saying is you're
Right,
an
right,
environmentalist.
right.
And it's just a communication thing.
Sure. It's a little reframe, and it's also experience, and it's also, your objectivity. Again, you're not in an emotional place. I mean, you could tell me as the financial strategist, but I heard you mention earlier what I call, or I think I shouldn't say I've heard called, I don't know, who was it? Susie Orman, maybe, financial death sentences. I don't know if she coined that term. Somebody did. But this idea that you were saying earlier, this father, it sounded like a father or mother being like, oh, we're not going to college, it's too expensive. Or, oh, you have to be the doctor, because I was the doctor. People, as you know, arrive to everything with emotionality. And there's a great technique that I do a lot with my families, which is I say, okay, what does emotional mind tell you? What does rational mind tell you? And then what is wise mind, which is the birth of the two, which comes from dialectical behavioral therapy. So when we can remove emotions out of it, right? Whether it's on the part of the student who's like, I'm going to be a botanist or die, first thing I heard was like, I think bro might want to open a dispensary. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's what that is. A little 420 vibe going on there. But anyway, I went to NYU, by the way, for grad school. So, no, that's so great. I mean, like, to me, there's so many takeaways here. I'm still you sell your program however you want to sell, but I honestly think you got a great sales pitch in the ownership and the prevention of the pain points for your loved one for having gotten this wrong, feeling shame, and then the family by proxy potentially inheriting this failing to launch proposition. That's my selling point. I mean, the reason, when I talk to families, I can say without flinching, in an unabashed way, I can save you a decade of pain, and I can provide for you a pathway where when you're literally 60, you can look yourself in the mirror and feel good about your legacy because you held the line. You did work that isn't about, being draconian, but it's about being firm and benevolent. It's about using heart-centered language. It's about communicating honestly and openly. It's asking your loved one to do hard. It's accompanying them and supporting them. It's taking off hats that are archaic that you're wearing that are not allowing your young adult to go from dependence to independence. So I can say that unflinchingly, as can you. I can look families in the eye and say that you work with me and you will now not only save yourself all the turmoil that you're going through today, you don't have to live on that emotional roller coaster where mental health symptoms or addiction or pathology is running roughshod all over your family. We're going to create literally a generational wellness model versus generational, right? And systemic, right? Mental health or issues. So how beautiful is that? I mean, how beautiful is that? I mean, I cannot thank you enough. I learned so much. I'm going to tell you really quick what I learned. I already learned that I got to challenge a couple of quick assumptions. I have to get out of that like erroneous myths around college is expensive, but that there is money if I want it. I love the four tracks. I love that, and really leaning into all of them. I love this idea though about looking at your student if they want to go to college, and even before they even decide if they want to go or don't want to go. This idea of really figuring out who they are and helping them to understand they're going to own whatever this is, but they should punt it or they should accept it based on the right sort of narrative, the right get mythology out of it. And then I love all these little reframes that you do.
Thank you.
So amazing. So much value here. I really hope folks reach out to you. I know I'm going to. So if anyone wants to, who's like already like, oh my God, I still have time, how can they reach out to you?
So just if you're asking the question, when is the best time to do this? We start working with students in middle school and high school. So it's no longer a junior year, senior year situation. Now, I will say most people reach out to me in their junior and senior year, and we can absolutely help. But if you want to do this slowly and gently and watch your child blossom into this awesome adult, the sooner the better. And for your listeners, they can go to collegereadyplan.info. and get 30 minutes with me so I can give you a clarity of what is going on and how you can move forward. And then if you're like, I just need free resources, I need to know my kids' core values, like I have a lot of work to do. Yeah, all those resources are on my website at collegereadyplan.com/resources. And if you're truly a do-it-yourselfer, I have 2 best-selling books on Amazon. And the first one is How to Send Your Student to College Without Losing Your Mind or Your Money. And the second one is The College Admissions Plan Simplified. And those are on sale for your listeners at $4. So just know they're there to support you.
That's awesome. You and I have we have such a similar approach. Same thing, because folks can go to the Four Peaks Parents, fourpeaksparents.com, and there's a free newsletter. I'm super excited. I just launched a free parenting workbook that's going to go out to any new Instagram follower, almost ready for that. And of course, if anyone is struggling with their young adults, mental health, addiction, or neurodivergence challenges and needs a guide, needs to step back and realize that, what they've been doing has not obviously been netting the results they want, is ready for change and wants to get some sleep and maybe go on a date and also help their young adult become this amazing, independent human that will do amazing things with their life and is sick and tired of being sick and tired, please go to fourpeaksparents.com and book a very similar free discovery call. And also, one thing I've been yelled at by folks who help support me is I never ask for reviews. So if you're listening, if you have a moment, it would mean the world to me to go and give me a review on fourpeaksparents.com. Thank you so much, Shellee. I'm not even kidding you. I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna call you because we are unfortunately that going into junior year family that is going to need to sprint and be a little chaotic for you. So maybe you don't want to take us, but
good. That's our norm.
I know. But thank you so much, and to all the listeners, keep on keeping on, and have hope, and keep working. Take care.
You've got this.
You got this. Exactly. Bye.